Pike calls down to Hammer that the warp drive is offline. Hammer is in the main cargo bay attempting to secure the processor, as it was unsafe while under fire. Pike orders him to work fast so he can restore warp power. Ortegas tells Pike that they can make about half speed, and he calls out an evasive pattern. Lan enters and tells them that they have to retreat. She points out that it was the Gorn making them vulnerable, using the colonists as bait. The Enterprise needs to fall back and regroup. It's in really bad shape. Lan is in pretty rough shape as she keeps hallucinating. Pike remembers the brown dwarf Spock saw earlier, and it's tethered to a black hole. Surrounding it, though, is a giant gas cloud that they could hide in. Did you get the sense that Pike was getting kind of sick of Ortega's snappy comebacks in this episode?
A little bit. I mean, I get it, though. Like, because at one point she was like, well, your science officer just said we probably shouldn't do that. Pike kind of rolled his eyes about that, but...
Yeah, he kind of stared daggers at her twice, told her once to knock her shit off, and then rolled his eyes once, too, you know? He tells her to focus on one problem at a time. If they can make it to the gas cloud, they will have reduced abilities, sensors, shields, communications will all be down, but so would any pursuers. Sauce for the goose, as Spock might one day say, in the 1980s at some point. Pike checks with Lan. She is acting number one again, and she agrees with his plan. Pike orders the ship to head in at full impulse, which I guess means half impulse, since they can only get half their speed.
Yep.
The Gorn ship keeps firing. Spock announces that sickbay and the main cargo hold have taken direct hits. Inside the main cargo bay, Uhura regains consciousness and calls out for Hammer. The chief engineer's right arm is crushed under a cargo container, and he asks her to help get it off. She's able to lift it just enough for him to get free, but he can feel that his hand is broken. Uhura tries to get him over to sickbay, but the door is blocked, and he asks if the door is blocked, and Uhura confirms that it is. Just then, a new alarm begins to go off. The coolant system on the AP-350 are in critical failure. Inside the conference room, Pike, Lan, Spock, and Ortegas are joined on screen by Hammer and Uhura and Dr. Mbenga. Hammer reports that he will be working on repairs and closes the channel. Pike notices that the temperature is rising, and Spock reports that the ionic gas surrounding the ship is affecting the temperature controls, and other systems are still offline. Mbenga adds that this includes sickbay. With no medical systems, they had been essentially reduced to triage. Number one enters sickbay, but almost immediately collapses to the deck. Mbenga points out that she said she was fine, and she admits that she wasn't. She had taken several deep puncture wounds from the shrapnel. They can't power up the surgical base to remove them. Mbenga recalls Chapel is interested in archaeological medicine and asks how good she is at sewing. Aces, is Chapel's reply.
Archaeological medicine. That's hilarious.
She is what older people would call a firecracker, I believe, you know?
I think so, yeah.